Josh McDaniels finds his QB1 of the future, but with the first overall pick in Keith Sanchez mock draft 6.0. We'll discuss it next on the Locked On NFL Draft podcast. Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Guys, you know what it is. It's your boy Damian Parson, co-host of this show, national scout at the Draft Network. My guy, the champ, isn't here. You know, he's out there hanging out and living with and spend some time with the family, Keith Sanchez. But I got a great step in, my guy, Ryan Tracy. Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm hanging in, man. You can call me a champ too. I cover the Chiefs. It's all right.
Oh, that is actually correct. You are the most recent champ of all champions currently in sports right now.
Well, kudos to Keith. Thanks for letting me sit in.
For sure, man. Listen, guys, we have it's mock draft Monday. It's mock draft Monday, Ryan. You know, and like I said, we're gonna. It feels kind of bad. We're gonna dive in and pick apart Keith's mock, but he's not here, so it's okay. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna really get into this, guys. But first off, we're gonna give a quick shout out to our sponsor. This today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. Ever dreamed of becoming an NFL GM and managing your football franchise? If so, then this game is definitely for you. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up in the app stores. Our listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise using the promo code Locked On in all caps in the game. So, all right, we're going to kick it off. First segment, we're going to really talk about the good, right? We want to start out with some good stuff, right?
Yeah, buddy.
What was your best pick out of this mock? You know, we had time to look over it. What pick really got you excited?
I'm gonna go best fit for me because I think it's something that's a need, and I think I love the whole story around it. Now, I'm a bit of an outlier right now on my offensive tackle list because I have this guy at the top of it as my number one, and he went second OT here to the Atlanta Falcons, and it is in-state, Broderick Jones from Georgia. I love just staying put, staying at home. I think there is an opportunity not many guys get to just kind of be comfortable in their transition right to the league, take the max advantage they can. And I love his play style, and the fact, quite honestly, I think he's the best of these tackles right now. And I don't think he's near his ceiling. I think he's got plenty of room to get better. I love his attitude. I love the nasty. Now, I'm a guy that supports Desmond Ridder, so I want as much protection for him to allow him to grow as possible. So I love this connection. I mean, everybody in this scenario, Des, him, everybody wears red and black, so I think it's nice and easy fit. So, hey, good for them. What do you think?
I love that, you know, and I'm a big Broderick Jones is my OT1 as well. And you think about 6'4", 300 pounds. And they said in practice, you know, over at Georgia, I think it was Kenny McIntosh talked about it, that during a press conference that he had actually hit over 19 miles per hour on the GPS at tackle. This is an athletic guy that you and if you turn on the tape and you watch him in the screen game, you know, he's tasked to pull and get out in space. He hunts down these DBs. And I feel bad for those guys sitting out there, man. They're just trying to read their keys, and you got this big locomotive already chugging away, right? Trying to knock you off the rails, man. And, you know, and like you said, that he's not even at his peak. We're not even seeing him at his best because he's still new. He's only had been a 1-year starter, you know, for one full year as a starter. He started a handful of games in 2021, and then this year was his first full year. So technically, he still got some things to work on, but that's what gets you excited, because that combination of strength, length, athleticism, the temperament, all of it. As a former running back myself and spending time with Kenny McIntosh, I know that he loved running behind big Broderick Jones on the end, man. For me, I think that's a great fit, great pick. And like you said, I'm part of the Desmond Ridder fan club, bro. I want to see him succeed, and the best way to do that is continue to shore up the offensive line and add more weapons around him and give him a chance as an actual starter of this franchise. But Ryan, I'm gonna go to my favorite pick, the pick that gets me going, man. 22, the Los Angeles Chargers select Luke Musgrave, tight end out of Oregon State. And, you know, you were there down along with us in Mobile for a few days. And one thing that stood out, you talking about looking good on the huff. Like, just when you first locate him on the field, you're like, okay, that's Luke. Even without the helmet, you're like, all right, tight. You see the tight ends, you're like, okay, that's Luke Musgrave. 6'5", 250. And Jim Nack, talked about him potentially running a 4.4
Mhm.
in Indianapolis, which we'll talk about later this week because it's the week before the combine, right? So and I'm gonna be honest, I would not be surprised if he hit that number, right? Like this is a vertical, explosive, big body guy, and what I love is seeing him against those DBs, which is a talented DB group that Jim had at the Senior Bowl, and just watching him with those guys and seeing him go 1-on-1 with I think it's the LSU DB Jay Ward and him
Mhm.
winning and getting vertical and tracking the ball, but not only that, but like the 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 frame is so real because that catch radius too. So you think about what he's going to be able to do for Justin Herbert and that fit to Mike Williams. If they do keep Keenan Allen, I'm not gonna lie to you, Tracy. If they got rid of Keenan Allen, that's kind of mind blowing to me. Doesn't really make sense to me. But hey, to each his own. But adding Luke Musgrave to this offense and with a quarterback like Justin Herbert who wants to throw those hot rockets downfield, this is a guy that can take over the middle of the field and really, really stress defenses, man. You talking about playing too high and trying to disguise coverages? Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that.
Yeah, go ahead and go for it. I think it's a really interesting selection, like you said, with Keenan Allen. Two guys that had significant injuries last year, right? And so you'd think you might want to go away from that, but I agree with you. It's the wingspan, it's the ability to track over the shoulder. We saw that in Mobile that I thought really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly it. You want him to run those skinny posts. You're trying to attack between the hashes and take that middle when it's there. And that's something I think Herbert hasn't had enough opportunity with, because when you see Keenan Allen play, he's dragging a lot. He's coming across the middle. He's not really stressing the middle of the defense behind the linebacker level. That's what they have to have. Now, I'm a big Herbert fan. He made his money at the Senior Bowl back in the day. I think it's a nice pairing. It
Mm-hmm.
allows them to expand the offense. I think they still want to run the ball some. I think that's going to help here. Now, Musgrave isn't like, he's not a Y. I mean, he might
Yeah.
line up over there from time to time, but he's delaying routes. He's pivoting. He's coming out. If he runs a wham block, I might have a heart attack. I don't know. But like, it's okay, because I think that versatility, especially that we see in the West all the time, is flexing out, getting into where you can line up. You can stack him. I think he can come off the backside of a two-man stack and just obliterate defenses. I love him in the slot. The big slot is the big fashion right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no better one than a big tight end that's got the girth to go with it, and it's not just a tall, lanky receiver, right? So I think it gives an extra layer of versatility to their offense as well, what they can do in the run game.
100%.
The only thing that I question is I got to have those medicals. So I have no problem with Keith putting him here, but there is fairly significant question. So does he actually go in the first? I think the medicals are going to be the really determining factor, but I love this pick, and I'm glad that you picked it too. Now, not everybody gets to have our favorite picks. There's some ones that we got to talk about questioning here. We're going to do that on the backside of this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ultimate Football GM. You've heard me talk about this mobile gaming app that allows you to step into the shoes, right? Step into the office and the suit of an NFL GM. If you football fans, gaming fans, this is the app for you. With Ultimate Football GM, you're responsible for controlling the destiny of your franchise by hiring the right coaches and coordinators, trading players, navigating your franchise through free agency, the draft, and all the ups and downs of a football season. So all this in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Football GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. So listen, guys, Locked On NFL Draft listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On, all caps, in the game store. That's Locked On in all caps. So make sure to check it out today. To download the game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up in the app stores. That's ultimate-gm.com. Ultimate Football GM starts your dynasty today. All right, you talked about it, man. And yes, we started with the good. We want to start with the positives, right? And but now, Keith, because I know he's going to listen and see this, we got to get into the not so good. I want to start this one out, right? And I preface this as the RB guy, the RB guru. I love my running backs. Bijan's my RB1, and he's one of my three listed blue chip players. but I absolutely hate him going 10 overall to the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's not so much about Bijan, it's more so, Ryan, you saw the list, the tweet that they put out leading into the Super Bowl against you guys of all the names of what the Philadelphia Eagles were going to be missing or heading into this offseason of, hey, these guys are free agents. A lot of linemen, you got corners, you got a little bit of everything. And it's like with the 10th pick, right? You think about names like, man, Quentin Johnson off the board, Tyree Wilson off the board, Devin Witherspoon off the, all these are picks afterwards, right? Joey Porter Jr., you know what I mean? All these guys that could fill much needed roles for this defense, right? And for this team. And if they wanted to, if they went Quentin Johnson, dear God, that's like, hey, we understand we're paying Jalen Hurts. Let's get everything we can out of him, right? But just the fact that they have so many other needs, to me, that running back, while it's not one that warrants picking at 10. You have other things that you got to figure out before we get to that point. And I feel like, I'm gonna be honest with you, Bijan is such an interesting case, and he's such a talented player. Right now, everyone, not just Keith, but any mock draft I look at, the landing spots are so varied. There's so much variety for where Bijan is landing right now, Ryan. Nobody knows where to put this young man because there's no ideal landing spot. So for me, the worst pick out of this mock, sorry to my guy Keith, which I told him this was going to happen, was Bijan at 10 to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Now, I can't fault Keith for identifying RB1. We all agree he's my RB1 too. He is the best running back in this class. And he also shouldn't be drafted until the 40s. This is just the way it ought to go, right? Especially a top 10 pick at that position. I just have trouble with, like you said, there's pick at 31 too. If you really, really, really need to do it, there could be opportunity there. And quite frankly, 100%. I think we agree on our number 2 running back as well, in Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not trying to say that Bijan isn't worthy of the 1, but the drop-off isn't, the Grand Canyon here going to Gibbs. So if you were to miss out because you did hold off till 31, I think there's good quality there if that's the position you feel you really got to go get. Now, I don't think Howie will feel that way, but I can understand what Keith was looking at there. No, I'm not going to run him down for it. I mean, hey, you got to do what you got to do. For me, the one that confounds me the most, and this is not to argue with Keith because I think he did something really, really smart here in the Tampa Bay Bucks at 19. It's Lucas Van Ness is his pick for them. And I think he identified something that I've identified in that they want to run a 3-man front, right? They're still looking 3-4, right? Unless somebody knows something I don't.
I think it's still the same.
And that's my problem with with a lot of the evaluations of Van Ness is they keep calling him an edge. And I've done 6 games of him now. He's a 5-tech in my book, period. I don't see him being able to go outside. I love him. If you're going to, go to the 4-man front on 3rd down, I love him as an inside rusher at the 3-tech. I don't see him as an edge. I just don't. It's all power with him. He doesn't corner that well. When he does have opportunity to chase the quarterback, he's got some decent straight line acceleration, but I don't like his short area quickness. And I don't think that's a true edge. So he got the fit right. But for me, a developmental player like that who hasn't started in college, and I think what did he average? 27 snaps a game. That's not enough to tell me that he can be a first-line starter for me, not only as a rookie, but maybe not even in his second year. So for me, that removes you from the first round. I like the player. I just think he's probably a 50-ish talent, not a 20-ish talent.
Yeah, no, and I'm inclined to agree with you. Like you said, the power is outstanding. The length, the build, all those things that you look for, right? And I know who he's training with, and I've seen the training videos. He looks phenomenal. But like you said, it's just a lot of variance. There's a lot of projection. Whereas, like, hey, this wasn't a starter. Like, you know what I mean? It's very rare you see a guy that did not start the entire season, or he's more of a rotational piece, and then he just, oh man, first round buzz starts, right? And like I said, I love what I've seen from him, but the concerns you have are valid, right? The cornering, the short area quickness, and different things like that. And I'm not gonna lie to you, this could be some what's the way I want to phrase this? This could be some value or just kind of looking at the Aiden Hutchinson situation last year,
Mm,
right?
yep.
Aiden Hutchinson was a power rusher, didn't corner the best, still didn't corner the best in the NFL. Had now Van Ness, I think, has much substantially longer arms, and
Mhm.
he, you know, what I mean, but they both were speed to power conversion type of guys. They weren't going to win you with that true bend and burst off the edge and wrap around the tackle like Von Miller and you hit that 90, like a car on two wheels. Like they're not going to give you that type of, they're not
No,
going to give you
no.
that, but
He's
it's
more
going
a
to be
six-wheel
interesting.
tank than cornered on two wheels, right? I mean,
I'm a
and
name
I
that popped up though, like a name when you were talking, a name that popped up to me. I thought it back to last year, Cam Thomas coming out of San Diego State, who went second round, of a second or third round to the Arizona Cardinals, and
Mhm.
where they ran the 3-4, and with Lance Joseph they tried to stand him up, and but he looked his best when his hands were in the dirt, and he was able to attack the outside shoulder and work his way inside. Then when they reduced him inside, and I think that's probably the game plan if you want to get the best out of Luke Van Ness.
Yeah, I'm sorry, folks, if you're listening. Damian might have just triggered you because I talked about Cam Thomas all last draft season. They're about tired hearing me talk about him, so I'm glad you brought him up. But yeah, they are similar. The only difference I see right now is just the fact that Lucas is raw. He's just raw
Mm-hmm.
because Cam was too. But right now, Lucas doesn't know what to do with his hands. I tell you, if you give me a two-hand punch, he extends his hips. He's got great power in his back half. I'm happy with that. It's just, what do you do as a counter? And that was similar where Cam was. Cam was a little bit more frenetic in his handwork, but he had a little bit more. So I think he's a
Mm-hmm.
little farther down the spectrum, but I can see that similarity. And hey, if you get a wild hair, maybe put him in Arizona too, and he can be the 3-tech inside of Cam, and you see what you can get done.
It's very similar to the guy that the Cardinals have right now that is going to be a free agent, Zach Allen. Coming out of Boston College. He was more of an alligator arm, short arm guy that people like, oh yeah, you can't play him on the edge, but they reduced him inside. He got stronger this past offseason. He had a really strong year alongside JJ Watt. So now I like that. That may be again just the plan of how you want to use Luke Van Ness. But guys, we got one more. We got one more. We went through the positive. We went through the negative worst picks, but we're going to talk about the sleeper in just a moment. We're coming up next. All right, Ryan. So sleepers, man. And I want to phrase it and explain what we mean by it. Just a pick that some people may literally be snoozing on out of this mock draft, right? That they may look at it, they may be scrolling through, it's like whatever. Like, but it's like when you really think about that fit, like, you know what, this right here might be a steal. What pick in this mock draft is kind of raises and perks your interest in that manner?
Yeah, like, and this fit is good. This is more for me about the player himself than the fit with the New York Giants here at 26. But for me, it's because I think it's been too easy to let the Stanford guys fly under the radar. It's been a tough go out there for the Cardinal, right? I mean,
Right.
David Shaw is a saint for what's been going on, right? And even in this All-Star season, like the receivers from Stanford, they showed a little pop, got a little love. Kai Blue Kelly didn't get nothing that I've seen of anybody actually recognizing the fact that he has the skill set to play in this league. To see him in the first round might be a little rich for most. Might even be a little rich for me. I was kind of hoping for 32. Just saying.
Right.
But I think he's another guy that's under the radar. But I think as the process goes on, I think you're going to see him be a little bit more twitchy than maybe people think when it comes to the combine. I think his change of direction is going to be pretty solid there as well. I need to see the explosive traits. And then I think that will set everybody down so they can feel comfortable about him being a fringe first rounder, maybe even get here to 26.
I like Caillou Blue Kelly. He's one of the guys that I have in my region over at TDN. I did his actual scouting report, which, again, if you want to read that, you can go to draftnetwork.com and take a look at it, man. I like him. I like, he's a former sprinter, 200-meter coming out of high school. Dad played football as well, so it's in his bloodline. I believe his dad played NFL ball, if I remember correctly. So, like, he's a baller, man. He competed his butt off down in Mobile, right? Against a talented group of receivers, bunch of different body types and archetypes and physical and athletic profiles. And if I remember correctly, I think in the game is either in the game or in practice, he had one of the better days where he had a pick and he nearly had another pick six. I think it was practice on all two,
Yeah, I think it was
like
day 3
literally
that I wasn't there
opposites.
for.
Yeah, all opposite sides of the field, man, and just being able to jump routes. Matter of fact, the first one he took it from the Stanford, his teammate,
Mm.
Elijah Higgins. The ball was thrown behind. Elijah tried to come back and get the ball, and he took it from him and took it to the house for six, right? Pick six. And the other one, he jumped the route from playing in zone. And that's the versatility. He plays both man and zone. And the route recognition and the ability to sell that I'm going cover three. Nope, I'm coming back downhill, right? And he does such a good job of that, man. And like you said, the change of direction and kind of the twitchiness is just kind of an underrated aspect of his game. So I like that fit because New York definitely needs a number one corner. Cordell Flott out of LSU showed up solid,
Mhm.
and Dory Jackson was their top guy. But I think, getting Caillou Blue Kelly could be big. For me, I'm sticking with corner. I'm sticking with the NFC East. The Dallas Cowboys getting Keely Ringo. You talking that big athlete? You talking look like a Greek god at the cornerback position, right? And he's super athletic. I believe he was a 4.3 athlete coming out. He's 10.4 in like 10.4 in 100 coming out
Mm.
of high school. As a junior in high school. And I want to put some perspective to this. In 2021, I believe, remember DK Metcalf did his pro debut with track against the actual track and field sprinters, right? Guys who are
Yeah.
running in the nines, not the tens, but the
Right.
nines, right?
Right.
And
So
and and DK hit, I think it was 10.36. Well, as a junior, this big kid is Keely Ringo hit 10, I think it was 10.43 or somewhere in there. So that's a junior in high school compared to grown, like fully developed DK Metcalf. So this young man, I would not be surprised if he hits 4.3, potentially 4.2 at the combine. He's an explosive vertical athlete, can jump out the gym. Ask Will Levis. He caught Will Levis in the high red zone when Kentucky played Georgia and played two-man trail and took the ball from him, right? So think about pairing him with Travion Diggs, right? Trevon
yeah.
Diggs, and now you got a situation where you got two long arm corners that have ball skills, right? The guys that could take the ball away if you are not on point with it. So now it's before teams and quarterbacks are like, we're gonna shy away a little bit from him. Let's go to Anthony Brown.
Sure.
Let's pick on him. Let's go after him. They pulled Keely Ringo, you're not going to have that type of luxury to say, well, all right, so they got both sides covered. All right, great. That's just perfect for our quarterback, right? So I think I love it because also it allows them to mix and match too, Ryan. Keely Ringo being a big, athletic, physical corner who likes to play press man, but he also can play that cover three, deep thirds bail drop. He can mix and match in terms of who they cover or him and Diggs, man. So you want to put Diggs on the twitchier guys? Cool. You want to put, you playing the Broncos, you put Diggs on Jerry Jeudy. You know who you put Keely Ring on? You let him shut down Cortland Sutton.
There you go. I like it. This is now in this scenario. This is now a pair that can rough you up physically at the line of scrimmage and can turn and run with you in most situations. Definitely the trail technique. I like where you're going there because I do think you can get shook loose by both these guys can get shook loose. So you got to be careful the way that you deploy them. I agree with that. But not only are they going to rough you up, they're going to tell you they're going to rough you up. And then they're going to back it up. And that's what I like to see. I think that brings a back the era of the Cowboys. It used to be the Cowboys who were the ones to smack you around, right? And I think that goes a long way in helping the rest of the defense. You know what Micah Parsons is going to bring you? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure about the second level. We'll see what happens with them this offseason. There's going to be a couple of changes there. Yeah, but if you can man that outside in a way, whether it's my only concern is going to be if you don't, you got to pick your poison. You either got to play press and let them be physical, or you got to play actual backed off cover three. Like it's that half bail you get caught into, and then everybody's running those 8-yard digs and they're getting yak, and it's a pain all day long. That's my only concern. But I like the fit, and I think Cowboys fans will like the fit.
No, I think they will. And he brings that championship pedigree, right? Battle tested in the SEC, so he's going to bring that with him as well. So it will be very interesting to see that pairing, man. For the NFC, which was arguably the best division in football this year, having 3 teams in the playoffs. So shout out to the NFC East, man. Shout out to the NFC East. They did their things in the 2022 season, and I think that Keith did them some favors with this mock draft. And of course, if you want to check out the full mock draft, the link will be in the description. Man, listen, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today. And tomorrow we're going to kind of get into more of the combine preview, right? We got the combine next week, man. So we want to get into some of the guys and start breaking down positions and what to expect and some guys to keep your eyes on. You're talking 40 and, vertical and all that type of stuff. But listen, Keith Sanchez isn't here, but our guy, Ryan Tracy, stepped in and really did us a solid for joining us on the show. So, Ryan, I appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me, buddy. Say hi to Keith for me.
Hey, yes, sir. I got you, man. But listen, of course, you can find me on Twitter at DP_NFL. You can find Ryan at Ryan Tracy NFL on Twitter as well. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.